Hey there, welcome back to Science Fiction. I am Salim Suterwalla, and as always, I'm joined by my friend and co-host, Carl Eames. Carl, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself, Salim?
Not bad. Just a decent work week. Nothing really going on for me for the most part. Nothing new in general. I haven't really been watching anything new. I was trying to think of um, something new to start, but I kind of just didn't feel like watching anything new, so I've been watching like reruns of that '70s show.
Yeah, that's something I've been wanting to do.
Yeah, that's my. It's random, but my Tommy Chong is in that in the first couple of seasons. And his character Leo is probably one of the funniest characters like in TV history. Like he's just so funny. It always cracks me up every time Leo is on doing a scene. Tommy Chong as Leo on the scene, it just cracks me up. But yeah, that's one of my favorite old days things to rewatch. Sometimes they're just fun. I guess they're doing that '90s show on Netflix.
Yeah.
They're doing that with it's basically bringing back some of the old cast, but it primarily is going to be around like their kids or something like that. Like that focus is going to be on their kids in the '90s. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I'll probably watch that just to check it out, but we'll see if that's any good. But yeah, that's pretty much been it for me. How about you? Anything exciting or new going on for you?
Let's see. Not a whole lot of stuff. I did. What was I about to say? Oh, I was telling John. We have a mutual friend named John. I was telling him I watched that Halloween episode of The Simpsons that came on this past week. It's on Hulu now, so I watched that. And I haven't watched The Simpsons in literal decades.
Right.
Just kind of keeping up with like a little bit of the news, like what's been happening, like Maud Flanders being killed off, like which was a long time ago,
right.
And other things like that. I think Miss Krabappel, was it Krabappel?
Yeah, so the actress that played Miss
Krabappel
passed away, so
so they killed the character, right? Stuff like that.
Well, they I don't know if they killed her. I thought they just wrote her off.
No,
that's what they do.
Died.
The character died too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought they just wrote her off, like she moved or something.
Yeah, there was actually a Watch Mojo list that came out a couple months ago about all the characters that are permanently dead in The Simpsons, and she was on that list. I was like, oh, okay.
No, but I don't think they actually physically killed her. Like they just like dead, as in those characters will never come back. Because Simpsons have a thing. No, but we'll have to find the episodes because I don't know about that for sure. But the Simpsons have a thing that whenever real life people who voice those characters passed away, they'll never use those characters again. Like all of Phil Hartman's characters, for example, none of them exist in the Simpsons universe.
Of course, yes. Right.
Yeah, so they didn't kill those characters off. They just don't use them anymore.
Right. I'm telling you, Miss Krabappel is dead. So is Maud Flanders.
Okay.
But
Well, I know Maud
but
Flanders
like
is.
Max Power or whatever his name is, Phil Hartman and Troy McClure, they're not dead. They're just not being used anymore.
Right.
But anyway, the episode was speaking of characters, so in particular, I was telling you how bad Marge, because I haven't really watched it. The voice acting for Marge is so terrible now. I guess they had an actress swap, or either that or the original one. She doesn't have the same kind of effort or clean or polish to her voice acting anymore because she sounds awful. But in general, the rest of the episodes had like 3 different parts. It's like the Halloween special, and it was really, really good. I watched it in particular because they did a special animation style, because they were adapting their version of anime called Death Note, and they got the animation studio that did Death Note to do the art, to do the animation for this Simpson episode for that special part. So everyone looked completely different. Like no one looked like the actual Simpsons art style. No one even had yellow skin. Like they all had like regular Caucasian skin for like Bart and Lisa and Marge and Homer. Mr. Burns was there, but they still did the whole Death Note plot. And it was like a quick version of the plot because it was a 3-part episode that was only one part of it, so it was only like a 10-minute thing. But it was still really fun and really well done, and it was really cool to see them in that art style. And it was also really funny, so I really enjoyed that. And the only other thing I did, which real quick, right behind me, kind of testing out how her dexterity and strength. So I'm gonna make let me get this bigger here. I'm gonna make Emma Frost. I've already made this, like this head. I did this head before. This is the head that I made, but the whole body I've done also. But I didn't like it, and there were some other issues. So this is my new build for her. So I've been testing out just to see how strong her legs are going to be, because that's the whole point of me redoing it, so she can actually stand up and not have weak knees and stuff. But yeah, that's going to be one of the Emma Frosts that I'm making. I'm making 5 of them. And that's just one costume. So I have to keep on working on the rest of them. So that's what I've been working on.
Cool. Sounds like fun stuff, man. You're on a roll with those. You've been building up a lot of them in the last like few months, I feel like, and upgrading a lot of like I think you had like a couple of ones that were damaged, and then you fixed them or something. So that's pretty cool, man. Cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So we have a fun show. No main topic as far as like, I mean, we do have a main topic, but nothing as far as show, like a movie or a specific show that we're going to talk about as the main topic. But what we wanted to do is rank our favorite or tiers on the DC movies that are DCE related stuff in general. So that's what we'll do as our main topic. But we do have a few fast flicks that we want to get into. So before we get into the main topic of going over our DCEU tiers, let's get into our fast flicks. All right, so our first fast flick.
You said fart or fart?
Flast. I said flast by accident. Flast Flicks is they have a new trailer for Avatar: The Way of Water. So in case people haven't seen it, thought it'd be a good idea to play here. So we'll go ahead and play that before we give our any thoughts on it overall.
Dad, I know you think I'm crazy.
That's behind those big rocks.
But I feel her. I hear her heartbeat. She's so close.
So what does her heartbeat sound like?
Mighty.
We cannot let you bring your war here.
Outcast. That's all they see.
I see you.
The way of water connects all things. Before your birth and after your death.
This is our home!
I need you with me. And I need you to be strong. Strongheart.
Alrighty, so that is the trailer for Way of Water, Avatar: Way of Water. What are your thoughts on the new one? It showed a lot more new scenes and things, stuff that it's going to be a part of the movie. It looks like they probably have kids now. It's centered around obviously seems like it's centered around like family and possibly obviously climate. I feel like there's probably going to be a heavy climate change plot. It's just my theory on it. I haven't really read about it, but that's just my guess.
It's also teasing a little bit of a war there as well.
Yeah.
And then definitely you see like right at the beginning she's shooting the bow, like she's pregnant and she had to readjust because of her belly and then all that. So definitely children in here and babies and stuff. I just again like I like not to beat a dead horse, but again, the plot of first Avatar wasn't all that complex or special.
Right. It's
So I
just
do
stolen
hope,
from other movies.
yeah, I hope that this
combined.
one has something of some kind of interesting story, a plot. Because again, it looks absolutely beautiful. Sure. I mean, other than like, I'm still not like super crazy about the stylistic faces that they have for the whatever they're called, I can't remember, like the big eyes and all of that. Don't necessarily like that, but in general the colors, all the different creatures going through the water, and just the environment and stuff like that stuff looks absolutely beautiful. I'm surprised that there aren't any tickets on sale yet, like for pre-sale, because obviously it's definitely gonna do gangbusters at the theater. And this might be the first 3D movie I watched in like a really, really long time, because I know watching this again, I've only seen Avatar one time, and that was in 3D, and it was like incredibly beautiful. So I want to see this one in 3D as well, just so I can get the best viewing experience of this, because this again one of those movies you should see in theaters. Watching it at home, well, when did the first Avatar come out? What was that, 2009 or something? Like we didn't have
Yeah, it's been a long
HDR.
time.
Yeah, we didn't have HDR and 4K TVs back then, so maybe things are a little bit better
Yeah,
nowadays to watch something
2009.
like this at home. but still, the movie theater with that big screen and all of the pretty colors and stuff is going to look really nice. So I would want to see it in IMAX or in a 3D or something like that. But yeah, again, it's not like super interesting of a trailer to me, but it's because I'm not all that invested in Avatar. But I will go check it out.
Yeah. So they're called the Navi.
Navi, yeah.
N-A apostrophe V-I, Navi. They're the indigenous people of Pandora. And obviously, I'm guessing they're just different tribes, but they're all Navi, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the first one. Obviously, like you said, the storyline wasn't much of anything. I think it's like Pocahontas and like dances with wolves, essentially. That's the storyline. And obviously, James Cameron puts a lot of his political beliefs into the movies, as far as a lot of like the subplots and stuff like that are concerned. So that's definitely part of it. And yeah, we'll be interested to see what this like story is really about. It. I mean, like I said, it seems to me it's in around like probably like climate change and what's happening with the world, and maybe again something to do with the evil humans trying to still steal a lot of what Pandora's like their natural resources that are concerned, and maybe there's some issues with, or maybe there's also issues where these people have lived, those humans have been here for so long that they're kind of corrupting the planet as far as like unnaturally in a sense, the way in a sense with the way climate change is currently being spoken about here for us in reality. So yeah, it'll be interesting what it's about. Like I said, it's funny. I don't know if it was just me, but like Zoe Saldana isn't really in this trailer, in this version. I thought she was in the first one, right? The first trailer, if I remember.
She's
correctly.
in this trailer. I like distinctly remember hearing her voice and like seeing her character.
Okay.
It doesn't seem like and I kind of get where you're coming from, because she seemed to stand out more in the first movie, in the first first
Right.
time
And I
seeing
was
her, but
wondering
in
if
here, like in here, it's like I'm looking for like her Navi form, and it didn't seem to stand out. But I
yeah,
definitely heard her voice. I was like, oh, there she is.
I heard her voice towards the end, but like she was barely in this trailer, and I was trying to see like, I want to say like the one of the girls in the trailer, it seems like that might be their daughter. I'm thinking, like, because there's some kind of familiar relationship, like a family relationship,
Yeah.
it seems, between them. So I'm guessing that's what it is. Like she's their daughter, and he's kind of like the way they're kind of speaking to each other. So it's interesting, I guess. So we'll see. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we'll see what when it comes out, as far as when they when they start selling the tickets, for sure. That's probably something that will probably have a high demand, just because this movie has been kind of talked about for so long, and it's been in the works for so long as well. I mean, they have like how many sequels did they have planned out for it? Like
At
5?
least 3 more.
Is it
Like
like 3
this
more,
one
like
plus
total?
3 and then 4, and I'm not entirely sure, but I know there's like at least this one, the next one, and then I think there's a 4th movie.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll find out what happens as far as that's concerned. But yeah, that's the trailer. Did you have any final thoughts before we move on?
No, I think we can wrap it up there and just let's move on to the next topic, which
Yeah, so
we're
Wonder
going
Man
to
is
go ahead.
Wonder Man is the next topic. They they cast the main character, which is Wonder Man, aka Simon Williams. It's played by I don't know how to pronounce his first name. Is Abdul Mateen II. Yahya.
Yeah.
Yahya, is it Yahya? Okay, Yahya Abdul Mateen II is going to be the lead in the series. If people don't recognize him, he played one of the characters he's played is the in Aquaman 2. He played the black what's the
Black Manta.
Manta? That's it, Black Manta in Aquaman, not 2, Aquaman. I mean, he's going to be in Aquaman 2, obviously, but yeah, that's what he's kind of famous for. He was also in Watchmen, the series. He played see, I'm going blank again.
Dr. Manhattan.
Dr. Manhattan. I have these brain like farts. I don't know, man. Like I think I'm just kind of my brain is slowly like disseminating or something. I don't know. But yeah, he played Dr. Manhattan in the Watchmen series. That was only one season. But yeah, he's been cast as that character. What are your thoughts on him being cast as Wonder Man?
I was caught off guard in a good way. I was like I'm pretty happy about this. We've already in a way, like I'm not totally surprised, but still a little surprised because they did kind of soft have a version of Simon Williams already in the MCU, with Nathan Fillion being in like on the posters and stuff. And I forget which movies it was, Guardians of the Galaxy or something like that. I think it was James Gunn that was responsible for it. Either way, so it made sense that if they would just kept going with that. But to bring in Yaya here and I think this is cool. Like again, physically he's not gonna be a problem. He's a really tall, big, muscular guy and a good looking guy. I've always like enjoyed seeing him on screen in whatever role he's done. So seeing him in this, like, actually, because again, Wonder Man's not the most interesting character in the world. I mean,
No.
he's got some cool powers, but he has not a huge fan base. So I don't think anyone's like, yeah, Wonder Man series. Like, I don't like if it was like a lackluster actor, I think no one would really care. But now with this, it's going to bring in a whole new audience of people to care about Wonder Man that did not care about Wonder Man or know about Wonder Man's existence whatsoever. What's going to be interesting is how they tie this in and how they use him, because especially given the situation of Scarlet Witch and Vision, which is where he kind of fits in. At least we're going for like the comic book version. The brain patterns for Vision and comic books were based off of Wonder Man, whereas in the MCU they're based off of I can't think of his name right now. The AI for Iron Man.
Ultron.
Jarvis, excuse me.
Jarvis, sorry.
Yeah, based off of Jarvis. So they could try to make a connection and say either one, like Scarlet Witch will now be more romantically involved with Wonder Man because of just trying to tie the comic books a little bit together. And Vision right now, who we don't know what he's doing. He just ran off, and like the White Vision, he got his consciousness and his memories and whatever restored, but he just ran off at the end of WandaVision, so we don't know what he's doing, and there's no necessarily clear cut that that he and Wanda are going to get back together. He can go off and do his own thing, and maybe things are too awkward. Maybe because her vision is dead, and this is like although technically it's still the same body for Vision, maybe he's just not ready to be back with Wanda, or they don't feel like it's going to work out, and maybe she falls in love with Wonder Man, or they can do some other things, of course, but I think that's where they're going to pull this in and try to have those characters cameo in this series, and see what happens with all of this stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting, the casting. Definitely, I think he's a really good actor. But it's funny. I guess in August, he made like disparaging comments about Aquaman, saying it's like clown work. So I don't know if it's just like a DCU thing that he hates DCU, or like, and maybe he feels differently about how MCU approaches Marvel Studios approaches making movies and films. So maybe he feels differently about them as far as what being a leading man for them.
Yeah, there's
And
a big
obviously
difference. He's going to be a leading role. That's a
right,
big
definitely.
difference.
And yeah, I mean, certainly that's a big difference, and obviously the paycheck will be better, so that could definitely convince him to change as well. And as far as his plot is concerned, so I don't know a lot about Wonder Man as a comic book character, but it looks like they're saying that the show will put him and Simon Williams in the middle of like Hollywood. So essentially, he's going to be like an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And him deeply embedded in making movies and things like that. So I'm wondering it's going to be similar to like Kingo from Eternals, where you had, obviously more focus heavily on the aspect of him leading as a character because Kingo was in Bollywood, whereas he's in Hollywood. So that's interesting as far as that's concerned. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm intrigued by it. It's not a well-known character, obviously, Wonder Man. They're trying to obviously make sure the people that they cast, someone that they cast is a strong actor. It's funny, like not related, kind of related to MCU. Like he was one of the people I was thinking that could replace T'Challa, or sorry, Chadwick Boseman eventually, but obviously they're not looking to do anything like that. Like there's like random people I was thinking of in my head. Like I wonder who we could get. Like really good actors that. But he was like one of the people I had thought about. It's like, hey, I wonder how about this guy. I was thinking like, but obviously they're moving into this. Obviously, I'm into this role. So yeah, and other noteworthy thing is obviously they haven't started a production timeline for this yet. So I'm guessing obviously this speeds that up because if they cast him as the main tutorial role, they're probably going to want to start doing everything else as far as casting other characters and then starting like a timeline, a solid production timeline as far as when they want to start shooting for for it as well, the Marvel series. But yeah, those are my thoughts on it overall. Did you have anything else?
Just as you mentioned, Kingo, I do think that's a nice opportunity for a crossover as well.
Yeah.
Like let them not necessarily be in the movie together. Well, have them fight. Why not? Like just have them beef over something. Like,
or maybe just cross paths in a movie or something like that they're trying to film.
Yeah. Or they can
On
fight
set.
in the movie and
Yeah.
like actually use their powers or something
Right.
like that. Like, when the Eternals need some help there. So
But wait, isn't Kingo though? He's currently not on Earth, right? Because he gets taken by is it Erisham? Not Erisham, sorry. The one celestial to be judged.
the series isn't happening right now, so
no, correct. I'm just saying, like whenever, like they would have to explain that first, as far as them coming back, and I don't even know when. Like that's the other thing; they haven't really mentioned anything about Eternals in the next two phases either, so we don't know when those characters are going to be reintroduced. As far as that's concerned, so yeah, no, definitely that could be something that they could strive towards for sure. But yeah, moving on, there is the next Fast Flicks. The Last of Us premieres on HBO Max on January 15th. Yeah, what are your thoughts on this? I know you're a fan of this game, right? If I remember correctly.
Yes, huge fan of the game. Me among the many that are big fans of the game and absolutely are in high anticipation. I think we watched the official trailer not that long ago. So now, yeah, it's coming out in just a little over 2 months. Not really a whole lot to say, but you can see this poster is very much like the game and game environment, the game aesthetics, so on. And yeah, like we'll see how it turns out. I will be there and I'll definitely watch this whole thing. But yeah, just a quick announcement of it's happening. It's actually coming out, and it's coming soon, sooner than anticipated.
Yeah, and there's not much other things about it. Like, there's not even did they release a trailer?
Yeah, we watched the trailer already.
Oh yeah, we did that. That's right. I couldn't remember. But yeah, I don't like I said. I don't have much thoughts on it. I never played the game. I'll definitely watch it just because it's like up my alley as far as things that type of show it is. I'm sure a friend of mine will download it. I don't have HBO Max, but I'm sure my friend will download it and I'll watch it when they download it because I'm pretty sure my friends are really interested into this game as well. So, but yeah, that's that fast flick. Next one, Venom 3. Kelly Marshall set to direct the next installment starring Tom Brady. So I guess
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. Sorry, Jesus, that's another one. That's the third. That's the three strikes and you're out, man. But yeah, so she wrote and produced the first two Venom movies, and then now she's being tapped to direct the third one for Sony, and it's in early development as far as it being slated and all that. Any thoughts on them choosing her? I don't know what her directing resume is. I mean, obviously she's done a lot of hard work on the first two, so it's just probably a good thing to reward her for it.
Yeah, it says that between Tom Hardy and this woman Kelly Marcel, that they both have like a strong agreement in the direction of and have had that strong agreement in the direction for the Venom character since the first Venom movie, and like you said, she worked on both of those movies, so it seems like a no-brainer. Like if I don't know, like if there's a bunch of people clamoring to direct Venom 3, but in the very least, you got someone who's passionate about writing material for this franchise, as well as working with Tom Hardy, and they both work really well together. So I think it's a fine idea. Like I said, like you said, I don't know her pedigrees in directing, but we'll see how that goes. But in the very least, we've both had mixed feelings on the Venom movies in general, but so I'm not like super excited or hopeful for what this means for the Venom 3 movie, because who knows what Sony even wants to do with Venom going forward. But in the very least, the news is that they have a director now, so things will be moving forward. There is a Venom 3 that's being worked on, so there's that. And just looking back at this, it's like it makes me wonder, why was Andy Serkis even involved in this? Because he directed the second movie, the Let There Be Carnage, and it kind of seems like, not that Andy Serkis isn't a huge director. I mean, he's a huge actor, and
you have to wonder if he
certainly
wanted to come back. Like,
yeah, I mean, even then, like if he wanted to come back, why he got involved in the first place, or why they want him, if this is just like his opportunity to show that he can direct, because he doesn't. Because as far as I understand, he doesn't direct a whole lot. He's more well known for his acting. So, but still, like as far as the direction goes for Venom 2, I don't necessarily have any like gripes with it. It's just more of the plot, and
right. It was a very short movie too. Like they probably left out a lot of stuff that they could have done, but.
Excuse me, but yeah, it's not like he was a big name director like Martin Scorsese. Let's get him back for the sequel or anything like that. But still, he is a relatively big name in Hollywood, and I like I said, you have to wonder if he wanted to come back, if he felt that he was getting respected, or maybe he just was just there and other people were making decisions for him and he didn't feel comfortable not having the freedom that he wanted. Maybe that's a possibility, and just spitballing here. But yeah, like it is weird to me that Andy Serkis was even involved in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think about that, but yeah, it's a good point. Like to your point, he's a well-known person, but obviously well-known for his roles that he's portrayed, the various different ones. The biggest one being Golem in the Lord of the Rings, and then obviously he was in Marvel MCU as Ulysses, um, the villain in Wakanda forever. The first the first Black Panther, and then in a couple of other movies, like the Age of Ultron, he was in there as well.
Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes. Oh yeah, that's right. He played Caesar in Planet of the Apes. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, like what the plot's going to be about. I think they had the teaser at the end where it's going to be Carnage's son is going to be the new main villain, because you had what's his face, that detective that had a bits of Carnage, his symbiote go into his stream, and that's probably where it's going to be. The next movie is going to start off at, but yeah, we'll see. And then the other thing will be noteworthy too if they mention anything about him, Eddie Brock going into the other reality or the other universe. Like if they talk about that at all in any capacity, or if they also incorporate like Morbius somehow and who do you call it? What do you call it? Michael Keaton, Adrian
Vulture.
Toomes, the Vulture. So those are all things that are in play as well, because obviously they want to eventually get to doing the Sinister Six, and then I don't know where Craven is at as far as production wise. I think didn't they get pushed back or something last time we heard? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. Any other final thoughts before we move into our main thing?
Yes, we have two real quick ones that I wanted to talk about. I don't have graphics for, but it was announced last night that Aubrey Plaza is joining the cast of the Agatha Harkness show that's going to be starting production, I guess, pretty soon, because I think it's coming out not next year, but like the beginning of 2024, something like that. So they should be shooting it pretty soon. They didn't announce what character she would be playing, but Agatha Harkness is basically a spinoff of the WandaVision show, and just continue whatever Agatha is doing in Westview, or maybe it's a backstory. We don't really know all the details just yet, but Aubrey Plaza is going to be in it, and I'm pretty excited about that. And then lastly, this was news from last week that I didn't really look into too much at the time, because I'm not familiar with the actor, and they didn't say what character he was going to be playing. But William Jackson Harper, the actor William Jackson Harper, was cast in Ant-Man Quantumania, which is coming out again in a couple months from now in February. They didn't say what role he was going to play, so I didn't really look into it too much. But I did notice a lot of people on Twitter over the last week were speculating / hoping that William Jackson Harper was cast as Reed Richards, as Salim and I were discussing just a bit before the show, that we didn't really think it would make sense for them to introduce Reed Richards this way. Not that that Harper couldn't play Reed Richards in any capacity. Sure, I would be fine with it if it was, but introducing the character in Ant-Man didn't make a whole lot of sense to either of us. But in general, I saw something else that made more sense to me, although it's still not 100% sound, that he could be playing a version of Kang, because we know that there's going to be plenty of versions of Kang that we'll be seeing over the course of the next couple of years. But maybe Harper will be playing a different version of Kang, and one of those versions is a character called Iron Lad. And Iron Lad is a a member of the Young Avengers. Again, he was a younger version of Kang before he became a little bit more corrupt and evil and trying to dominate the timeline and all that. He actually was in the modern timeline, a young man, and he was basically a stand-in for Iron Man / the Vision for the Young Avengers. No, Harper himself isn't exactly all that young, which he's not like the youngest guy in the world. He's actually older than both of us, but it's the MCU. They can do whatever they want. But I just thought that was an interesting theory to kick around. But yeah, we'll see him in a few months in Quantumania, but nothing confirmed on his role yet.
Right, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I do like him as an actor. He's in the one thing I always remember him as is from The Good Place, because I used to watch that show. But yeah, he's a good actor, and I know a lot of people want him casted as, like, fans want him casted as Reed Richards. There's like a big fan, favorite as far as who to cast in that role. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Who he's actually casted as in Ant-Man. They're obviously keeping it very secret, so maybe it's gonna be a big one as far as like a lot to do with the plot of the movie, or even the future of Phase 5. So we'll find out for sure. But yeah, anything else?
That'll be it.
All right. So yeah, let's move into our main topic, where we are doing the tier maker for DCEU related productions. So yeah, how did you want to do this? Did you want to take turns as far as you want to go first and give up me your tier, and then I can go after you? Would that be easier?
Well, just let me explain it just a little bit more. So what we've done is that we've made tier lists, each of us, on everything that's been in the DCEU, which would be the beginning of with Man of Steel. So all of the Zack Snyder movies and all of everything that Batman v Superman, Justice League, all of that stuff, as well as Shazam and Black Adam, was the last movie, which just came out last week. And that's why we feel like, we're at a good position to talk about the DC movies as a whole, as well as the shows. So like Peacemaker is also one of those type of things that we're going to talk about, because all of that is related. So some of these things are good, some of these things are bad, and we're just going to talk about it as a whole. So yeah, Salim, I think I have your list up here first, so I'm going to go ahead and while you're talking about how you feel about the list, it'll be up here as a visual for everyone here to see.
Okay, so you want me to go first then?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll go from bottom to top. So my list goes as this. So it goes from what does S means? What does S mean? Like super?
It just means top.
The top. Okay, I don't know what it meant that it stood for, because obviously the other was A, B, C, and D. So the letter grades, I thought, but then I wasn't sure what that. It usually means something, but not sure what it means in this regards. But yeah, so the bottom one being D is my lowest one. And I mean, the order is not relevant for that. I just have these listed in the bottom. So I thought Wonder Woman 84 is down there for me. The first Suicide Squad is down there for me. The first Justice League is down there for me. And then I also have both the extended cut and the regular Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice in the bottom for me. I just like those movies just were very disappointing. They're very, at least the first three are very Zack Snyder, or last three, I should say, are very Zack Snyder influenced. And I have made it very, very clear that I am not a fan of Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
So, and the Suicide Squad one, it was just like a jumbled mess. Like, you many times through the movie you had to wonder like what they're doing, or like you didn't even really understand the plot until like what? There was like 45 minutes left in the movie, maybe. Like it was just such a mess. It was just a mess. Like I think the only good thing about that movie was Harley Quinn. What was it her name?
Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie. I was gonna get Robbie. I couldn't remember her first name. Margot Robbie. I mean, I liked her as Harley Quinn, in my opinion. But yeah, just that, and then I felt like Wonder Woman 84 completely ruined Wonder Woman the character, and it completely like the whole concept of her being like this mess over a man, and just like it's really odd. And then like the way he comes back, he's basically in someone else's body, and
It's very weird.
it's very weird. Like she has sex with that person. It's like this is really weird. It's like what?
Mhm.
Like this is just a very weird thing going on, and like the whole the movie was just not good. I hated it. I thought it ruined. Considering how good the first one was, in my opinion, the second one was just complete disaster, and it's like so many cringy scenes, like the highway. Like I was like, what the hell is this? Like this looks so goofy. But yeah, I thought it was terrible. But that's where I have in D. C, I have Man of Steel. And then I have the Birds of Prey. Or what was it? What's it called again?
The Emancipation of Harley
Quinn. And essentially, it's the Birds of Prey. It's that based off of that. So Man of Steel, I liked. I mean, again, Zack Snyder. I'm not a big fan of Zack Snyder. There was parts of the movie I like. I feel like the second half of it, I just didn't really like it too much, and especially like the last hour, I got a headache through a lot of the fight scenes. It was just kind of nauseating. I didn't really like the direction of how he ends up like killing God. I didn't like a lot of like the things that he did in that throughout. It's like I said, it was an okay. Like the first parts were okay. There's some good stuff in it, but overall, I just wasn't too into that movie. And the same way with the Emancipation of Harley Quinn. I mean, like it's not. It's funny. I watched the movie once, and there's nothing really that memorable about it. Ewan McGregor is in it as the main villain. But for me, like, yeah, I was trying to remember like memorability of that movie, and it was just very meh. It's like, whatever. I mean, like, it's not as bad as like the one original movies that I listed and my worst ones, but I didn't really feel it. So those are two I had in C. B, I have Black Adam and the Zack Snyder cut Justice League movie. Now, I'll start with Zack Snyder's Justice League movie. Now, the reason I have it in B, it's like I thought it was decent, but I was really critical of it still in a sense. While that, like, I always make fun, not critical, but make fun of it. I always say like he had an opportunity to make it like perfect and great, but he still Zack Snydered it up and like made it ridiculously long and some scenes unnecessary. But I thought it was like an improvement over the original Justice League, and I did like some of the characters that he added into it. Like I really like one of my favorite parts in that movie, I would say, is like the battle, and you see like all the different DCEU characters where with various different things. Obviously, the Green Lantern Corps. You see a lot of like the Greek mythology characters, and all the various stuff like that. It's really cool. I thought that was a fun scene. So like, yeah, I mean, like I said, I thought it was it was decent, but nothing to like run home about. I also kept Black Adam in this area just because, like I said, while I enjoyed Black Adam, like we talked about this, the plot isn't all that strong. It just like kind of like to me, it's kind of like one of those. It's a fun movie, but it's not exactly like, man, this is really like overly enjoyable. So, and obviously you and I talked about Black Adam in detail, so I don't want to get too much more into that because we talked about it in the last episode, and people can go check that out to get our full thoughts on Black Adam. So, and then in A, I have Aquaman and Shazam. So Shazam, I thought it was, I went into Shazam with very low expectations originally, and it turned out to be just a really good movie to me. Like as far as the overall start to finish, the plot, the acting, the different characters development and things like that. I enjoyed it. Aquaman too, Aquaman as well. I mean, I guess maybe like I'm a fan of Jason Momoa, so it kind of makes me like it a little bit more. I thought it was a fun movie as well. I have that there. And the ones that I actually liked finally in the S tier, Peacemaker, I thought was a very good show. We talked about Peacemaker on here as far as the overall quality of the show. I thought it was very different as far as all the other shows that comic book shows are concerned. I thought John Cena was just like fabulous in this role. He like really did a great job with it. I thought all the various like the Eagly, his relationship with Eagly is really great. The whole storyline building up to with him starting out as not so good guy, and they kind of show the complexity of him and the relationship with his father and how he slowly ends towards being a good guy in the end of the show. I guess I thought it was enjoyable, well done. The second one I do have is Wonder Woman. That was a really well done movie. Like that was like probably first. I want to say probably the first DC movie that I actually liked. That came out before Aquaman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was like the first DC movie that I generally actually liked. And I thought from the beginning to the end, it was really good. I think they did a good job portraying Diana, aka Wonder Woman, as who she is as a character. I thought everything at the action fight scenes were cool. I enjoyed obviously Chris Pine in there as in his role as well. I enjoyed that movie, and then finally, the second Suicide Squad was really good in my opinion. Obviously, James Gunn directed that, started his role with DC, and obviously then eventually he said Peacemaker, and that rolled into him eventually obviously becoming one of the head showrunners of DC in general. But yeah, that's my list. Any thoughts, questions for me based off of my thoughts on where I have everything placed?
I mean, your reasoning is your reasoning, so I don't want to debate that yet until we go into my list, and then we can talk it out. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. That's how you feel, right? So as far as I'm concerned, so we both have our own tier lists here. So that was Salim's. His thoughts are his own. Like put that in your Twitter bio, sort of thing. But I have my own list here, so we're going to do this again. But it is how I feel about DC here. And yeah, so again, starting at the bottom, doing the D tier, I think we can both agree, and we have agreed that Suicide Squad is one of the worst, if not the worst. I think it is the worst DCEU movie. I'll go as far as to say that. Like I said, the plot didn't come clear. It was a little too wacky. hate this version of the Joker so much, and I always have. Even I remember before the movie where people were super hyped about the movie and they thought it was going to be good, that they were loving Jared Leto's depiction of the Joker from the trailers and stuff. And I'm like, ew, why would they pick this version of the Joker? Because it was based off of him in the mid '90s, of the character in the mid '90s, and I'm like, that's like one of the not cool versions, like cool times for the Joker to be depicted. Like you could have picked any other era of Joker, and you picked this, super tattooed. Oh, he got damaged on his forehead or something like that, and his weird slick back green hair. And I just didn't like anything about Joker. But people were super hyped about it, and also, like you said, Salim, the best part of the movie is Harley Quinn, easy. And she's like the only good thing that came out of that movie. And Margot Robbie, I still think is the best actress to play Harley Quinn, at least in the live action. She really owns it, and she does a really great job. But even Will Smith couldn't save this movie, which is really telling because, as great of an actor as he was, kind of phoned it in a little bit, and again didn't have a whole lot to do, even though he was kind of the main character of the movie. It just wasn't good all around. That being said, Batman v Superman also pretty much as bad, just like a slightly bit better. I mean, if I had to watch one of the two between Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman, I'd watch Batman v Superman. I'd never watched the Ultimate Edition, so I don't know what those, like, any extra scenes are in there or what the deal is with that. But just the original movie, it's not a great movie, obviously, but in the very least, it does have some redeeming qualities. I mean, they do fight, and that's like rewarding enough. But between the Martha stuff, the Doomsday stuff, even the teaser for Deathstroke at the end, which they've never paid off, and thank God, actually, because I don't want to see what's his face to play Deathstroke. I really don't. I can't remember his name, but yeah, he's not anybody I'd like to see play Deathstroke or
like Joe something or another, Joe Mangione, or I can't remember.
Yeah, Manganiello. There you go.
Manganiello.
Yeah, I'm not interested in him or seeing Jesse Eisenberg play. What's his name? The Superman villain. But yeah, I'm not interested in any of that stuff. Like basically, whatever this movie was selling, I wasn't buying. So yeah, the only, like, I guess the redeeming qualities was like the Batman fight scenes where he's fighting all those goons in the warehouse, which was pretty cool. And a little bit of parts of the fights between him and Superman were good, but some of it was just kind of like it. And just in general, I never was a fan of the depiction of this version of Batman either, because of him being so old. Like we just had the previous movie of Man of Steel, and he's like supposedly the first superhero in this world, which we definitely know that's, at this point, it doesn't seem like it's true anymore. But at the time, it seemed like Superman was like the first superhero, and then all of a sudden, oh no, Batman! He's been being Batman for decades, and he's really old, and he's close to retirement, and now he's going to fight Superman. Like that doesn't make sense. Like where has he been this entire time, or why are we finding out about Batman now? Because now Joker's killed Robin and all this stuff. Like they skipped a whole lot just to have this appear to be like the Dark Knight Returns comic books, and I think that it wasn't worth doing. But going up to the C tier with Man of Steel, honestly, I'll be honest with you, I've only seen parts of this movie. I've never sat down and watched the entire thing. I was at a party with my like nephews and stuff, and they put it on, and I did try to watch it, but no one else was watching it, and there was so much going on in the house that I really couldn't watch it anyway. But it also didn't pull me like in to actually pay attention. Like I didn't want to. I was playing Pokemon, so like it really didn't pull my attention enough to even care about the movie. I did see like the death scene where he kills Zod, and like that's like going into something that Henry Cavill said lately. With his wanting to come back and his confirming he's coming back to play Superman, is that he wants the next Superman to be more inspiring, and it should be more like of a positive Superman. So I think that's him signaling that he ain't going to be killing anybody in the next movie, and that he'll be actually like more of a comic book accurate depiction of Superman going forward. So I'm not a huge Superman fan, but in the very least, I like for him to be depicted correctly going forward. And not be so dark and be the gritty reboot sort of Superman. Like, we don't really need that for that character. That being said, moving on to 1984, like I said, it was a disappointing movie all around. Not a whole lot is going on that's good. I think the gold suit that she had was incredibly mistreated and not used well. It could have been used better. It was just there for selling toys, basically. The plot with Steve Trevor wasn't very good. The plot with Maxwell Lord was on brand for the character, I suppose, but at the same time, they could have did something a little bit better overall. And I didn't really like Cheetah either, so it was a little too lackluster. It just could have been a little bit better, and I've thought about this movie a lot, like how much better it could have been with just a few more tweaks, a few things there, just to change the plot around just a tad bit. But I don't put it so far down that it's so bad, but I'd still rather watch 1984 over watching Man of Steel or watching Suicide Squad. And that being said, I'd rather watch Justice League over 1984. The Snyder Cut, if I had to, but I only say that because it did have all those additional scenes, like you said, the fight with I guess the Darkseid's army and stuff. That was really cool, having all the Amazonians and the Green Lantern Corps and everyone else there. Was a really badass scene, and having additional scenes with Cyborg and all of this stuff was cut from the full theatrical release. But theatrical release was just okay, but it was like I think I said it at the time, it was the most okay of all of the DC movies at the time when it came out. But it was just not great. It was just okay for me. But the Snyder Cut, it was a little bit better because of the extra stuff. But yeah, it really was just everything that he shot, and then he didn't edit anything. He just put it all in the movie type of thing. Because there's no way that movie should have been, what was it, 4 hours long, if I remember correctly. Maybe it was 6. I don't even remember anymore. But it was entirely too long for it to be just a theatrical release. So I think it's just all of his footage and just dumped it and edited it together and got the special effects and stuff. But it was way too much. With that also said, my last C-tier movie is Birds of Prey, which is another thing, another one just like 84. Could have been so much better, just tweaking a few things here and there. But honestly, one of my biggest gripes with Birds of Prey was actually the fight coordination, the fight scenes and stuff. They were so boring and lackluster. Even when they were in that, I think it was the warehouse or factory or whatever, and Harley Quinn is fighting, and she's got the bat, and she's got all these tricks, and she's doing flips and stuff. It looked like Margot Robbie did her own stunts, and as opposed to getting someone that's like a actual gymnast or just a stunt coordinator, a stunt person that can flip and be more acrobatic, because it was so dry and so like limp of flipping around and the fight scene. It was just like come on, she's supposed to be like all over the place, like really energetic and really really limber and stuff, and it was really weird just seeing her fight. That was my biggest complaint was fight scenes in the movie. I thought Ewan McGregor was fine as Black Mask. I did like him. Black Canary was okay. She could have been better. I did like Huntress a little bit, but like their roles were still very small and comedic and fine, but it just could have been a little bit more going on, especially with Black Canary. They never really explained, as far as I remember, her powers. She only used them really once, and it didn't really go into like, again, we don't really know like her backstory. Huntress, they did kind of talk about it, but they didn't really do much with her. It's just kind of like a bunch of underused characters. So it could have been better, but it definitely could have been worse. In B tier, so I do put Aquaman here. I think it's a decent movie. I think I've said before, I never really was like super high on Aquaman um, in general, just as a character and for this movie. I thought, and I wanted to mention this earlier when we were talking about the Wonder Man casting. So like Black Manta is the only really reason why I like this movie, and he was incredibly underused. I think, as far as I understand, like I don't know Black or Aquaman's like rogues gallery perfectly, but I know Black Manta is like a significant villain to him, and it was like a big challenge as far as I understand. Like I think was it Sea Master or Ocean Master is the other one that's in this movie, and I don't really care for him. He was so boring. I didn't like his design. I didn't like the way he looked. I didn't like the acting. I didn't like the conflict or the plot of using that character. If that movie was more about Black Manta, I would have liked it a lot more. Um, his visual effects with the beams coming out of his helmet looked super cool, and it looked really powerful, and actually like they even had plot development for he Aquaman didn't save his father and all of that in the submarine. So it was like, okay, here's this really cool villain, and he has like a motive. He hates Aquaman, and then they just kind of throw him away and just go into Ocean Master at the end. And so I wish it was more about Black Manta. Like I said, we'll see more Aquaman later. So hopefully they do bring back Black Manta in a significant way for the next one. But um, it was just an okay-ish movie. Still one of the better ones from DC. And right there with Black Adam for me. Like we said, we reviewed Black Adam last week, so you can check out that episode. But this is where I put it. I'm not crazy about the movie, and I think Hawkman and Doctor Fate really save it for me. If it wasn't for those two, I would probably put Black Adam in the C tier. Honestly, it was really all about Hawkman for me, and he was just a good character, and Doctor Fate was just a cool character. Whereas Black Adam got better towards the end, I guess, but his fish out of water type of personality and time displacement wasn't handled all that well for me, and visual effects as well. Some of it were a little lackluster, but can be forgiven because it has some cool fight scenes, especially again with Hawkman. Peacemaker, I am not crazy about either. But if I had to, I would rather watch Peacemaker all over again than watch Black Adam. And it's kind of how I themed this whole list. Like if I had to watch one thing over the other, which one would I watch more? So this is where I put Peacemaker. I thought it was a funny show, and definitely playing with a lot of the mature themes of having mature language and some sex scenes and like nudity and stuff, a lot of violence. And all of that stuff, and clearly DC's not afraid to play in that type of arena, so it's refreshing to see that sort of stuff from our comic book properties. But I didn't really love everything about it. Not that it was bad, but it just didn't excite me, and I wasn't at a point where every week I was excited to watch Peacemaker, but it was watchable and enjoyable. So that's why it's kind of like in this B range. And then right there, Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad, James Gunn Suicide Squad. Um, I just find it just a little bit more enjoyable having a bigger cast of superpowered characters, and then the whole Suicide Squad thing where you don't know who's going to live or die by the end of the movie. But just another great performance from Margot Robbie. We got Idris Elba in here. He always makes a movie better. And just in general, even like Rick Flag, he was really good in this movie. And then John Cena and so on. Just seeing some more characters, seeing them use the starfish. I forget the name of the darn starfish thing, but just the fact that they actually used it. I think James Gunn's probably the only director that will have the balls to use the starfish, the character, and to use it that way, because like it's just like the most ridiculous villain, but still this classic Justice League villain. It's like how would you ever pull this off in a live action movie? Well, James Gunn's definitely the perfect director to use that character, and I think it went off really well. And then Shazam, like I said, I saw it last week for the first time and was pleasantly surprised. It's a pretty good movie. I didn't love it, but it is a really solid movie. Really fun, lots of good fun scenes, and it's just a good way. Again, you have to remember Billy Batson's still a kid at the end of the day. So even though he looks like a grown man with superpowers and all this stuff, he's just a kid. So seeing Billy Batson talk about villains and stuff like that, it was actually really fun. And seeing the whole family get in on that too, I thought that was really fun as well when they got their powers. So I wouldn't say I'm super excited for the next one, but it is on my radar. Hopefully that'll be a good follow-up. And lastly, I have Wonder Woman. I think everyone can agree that it's one of the best, if not the best, DCEU movie. But the only reason why I don't have it as an S tier, because for me personally, if I'm going to put something that high on this S tier ranking, I would say it has to be perfect or so close to perfect that whatever blemishes that it has, I can overlook because they're not that big of a deal to me, or like they're so minor or so few that it could easily just be an S tier. But I put it in A tier because, again, the whole movie's great up until the end for me, which would be Ares. And I would say I can overlook one thing about Ares, but there's actually two things that I don't like. One, I just don't like him as how they used him as a villain. I thought he was really weak as a villain. Like the whole fight and the conflict, the plot for Ares was just a little too weak for me. Where the rest of the movie just had really strong moments with Wonder Woman, with the whole tank and her interactions with Steve Trevor and everything like that, her whole history and backstory, the Amazonians and stuff. All that was really great, but her interactions with Ares I felt were kind of weak, and then the visual effects on Ares were kind of weak. So I'm like, I don't really think it deserves to be that high, but it's still the best DC movie to me. So that is where we are, how we feel. Once again, just going to throw up Salim's list so you can see. We can't really do a side by side, but there is how he feels on his S tier: Peacemaker, Wonder Woman, and the Suicide Squad, and A tier: Aquaman and Shazam. And for me, no S tier, and then just A tier Wonder Woman.
Yeah, it's funny when you were talking about Wonder Woman 84. And another thing, another criticism I had for it is there was absolutely no reason for it to be set in the 80s at all. Like,
yeah,
no reason at all. And I think the only reason they did it was because Captain Marvel was set in the 90s. So I think they wanted to do like one of those period things just to kind of, challenge MCU to do an 80s nostalgia. But yeah, there was absolutely like no reason for me to be set in the 80s.
and I remember too the X-Men were doing that as well at right before that. So having Days of Futures Past was set in the 70s. and then
Right.
Apocalypse was set in
Right.
the 80s, 90s or whatever, and then Dark Phoenix moving forward after that. So I guess they were just like getting caught up in that wave of
Right.
period
Period
pieces /
pieces, right.
nostalgia.
Right, and there was just goofy in that regards. But yeah, I mean, don't really have like a disagreement with your list. Obviously, like you said, your list and your reasoning is sound. I don't really disagree too much. But yeah, I like for me, I'm never. I guess I'm just that strict on the top. Like for me, if it's like, if I would give it like a 90% rating, it's good enough. Like I don't have to be a perfect. For me personally, that movie doesn't have to be perfect to be like on the S tier. But yeah, I mean, it'd be. I guess it'll be interesting if we ever do an MCU version. But there's so many MCU, so that would probably take like each of us doing our own episode instead of filling it in one episode. I mean, I suppose we can do phases. It would be better to do phases for MCU, I suppose, as opposed to the entirety of the. And not to say this is the entirety of DCEU, but this is probably the more major stuff. And I suppose we could do the more major stuff too, which I'm sure we will. But yeah, I don't really have any other thoughts. Did you have any other final thoughts?
Yeah, or well, we don't. As far as DC goes, the next DC thing is not happening for a few months from now. That's the Shazam 2, The Fury of the Gods. As far as I understand, that's the next movie. That's not coming out till March, I think. So this is our list for the next couple of months, at least. Because yeah, I don't think there's anything hitting HBO Max. Again, this is specifically DCEU, so we're not counting the Robert Pattinson Batman. We're not counting
right.
Joker with Joaquin Phoenix or any of those sorts of movies that aren't part of the Man of Steel
to this.
Yeah, not Man of Steel to Black Adam. Like those aren't in there, so we're not counting any of those movies or shows in this list, just in case you were wondering why you didn't see them there and why Batman wasn't on this list. Yeah, that's why. But yeah, that does it for that. And then again, Black Panther comes out next Thursday. So although we haven't discussed this, I would like to do one for the MCU, but obviously we want Black Panther coming out so soon. We should wait till well after we watch the Black Panther movie, and then we can wrap up the phase 4 and talk about MCU after that. And then it'll be a little while before we get another MCU project of the like the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special coming out at the end of November. But I don't think we need to necessarily wait for that to talk about Marvel. But yeah, other than that, I don't think there's any other significant things happening in sci-fi right now.
Yeah, I can't think of anything either. I'm looking forward to Wakanda Forever. I'll be watching that. I'm not sure if I'll be able to see it before the week of our show. I mean, I'm definitely going to watch it before our show, but I just don't know when exactly, what day I'll be able to go. I'm going to try to go probably at least by Tuesday, so that way I have ample amount of time to get my thoughts together. But yeah, that's all I have as well. That's a wrap for today's show. Obviously, thank you again for tuning in. Please check out any other previous episodes you may have missed on the Barroom Network on either YouTube or any audio platform as far as podcast platforms are concerned. Various podcast platforms like Apple, Spotify, Podbean, Stitcher, and whatever other platform you like to use. And definitely check out all the other various shows that the Barroom has to offer. But yeah, thank you again for tuning in. We will see you guys next time.
All right. Have a great evening.